are now tuned in to the True Dialogue Podcast. Continue to grind, and things will manifest in time. Good evening, family of overcomers. You are now tuned in to the True Dialogue Podcast. Guided by spirit, grounded in truth. It is not small talk. It is true dialogue. And I am your host, Queen SGV, Miss T, the triumphant one. Family of overcomers, give yourselves a round of applause. So you guys know last week we had a pretty epic moment, a great time last week. Tonight is part 2 of the Forgotten CRIP with Duane Fitzpatrick. Tonight is part 2. It's so much to unpack with this story that we had to do a part 2. I didn't want to do, I've had a couple of guests on here that I really should have done a part done in 2 parts, and I didn't. So I wanted to make sure, like I always say, we learn as we go. We learn as we go. We are learning as we go. So I wanted to make sure that moving forward, I would have guests and they have stuff we unpacked. I had to read the book, that I do it properly and in part. So that's what we have going on tonight. Yes. So before we actually get in, I always gotta say what's up to everybody. I always gotta say what's up to everybody. So I'm gonna show you guys the book. This is the book right here. You guys see it on the screen. TikTok, y'all see it. As always, I am so proud to be here. We podcast. We are live streaming from 7 different platforms at one time, concurrently. I'm so excited. Give me a round of applause. And we're going to let off some numbers because you guys sent the numbers skyrocketing last week. Let me tell you something. Don't look at the numbers on your end, because I assure you they are skewed compared to what I see and what I know. So part 2 tonight of the Forgotten CRIP with Duane Fitzpatrick. But before we get into that, y'all know I got a word of encouragement. Before we get into that, y'all know I have a word of encouragement. I'm not going to leave you, nor will I forsake you. So we gonna I'm gonna give you my word of encouragement. Y'all give me 1 second. We gotta get this out in the open. Y'all know we gotta get it out in the open. I don't know who all this is. Okay, ready? Hi, what channel can we watch? Right here. Uh-oh, let me go to, see, I got people want to chime in. Let me tell them, YouTube, True Dialogue. Uh-oh. True Dialogue Podcast. Oh, podcast or watch it live here. All right, good. All right, let's go, y'all. Let's go. Yes, go. Yes, go. I'm so excited. I kid you not. I don't know how y'all week has been, but my week, my week has been wonderful. It is hot. It is hot. It is hot. People act like, oh, it ain't hot. It's hot. I'm trying to figure out, where did this heat come from? we are not even we are like not even in, we still got a month before we end winter, right? I mean, we haven't even started spring yet. That's what I'm trying to say. And boy, it's hot already. Um, it is somebody I wanna send out. A lot of times I can't do this until I'm up, so y'all just stick with me. Bear 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 with me. I am getting this out. Y'all bear with me. And I'm going to give y'all that word of encouragement. I'm going to let y'all know what it really do today because I need y'all to be inspired, not tired. Like, for real, I need y'all to be inspired and not tired. Y'all need to be up. I'm going to get this out. Whoever want to join us, they can join us. I'm going to just share this. I did this a bit different tonight than I normally do. So uh I really did. I did this a lot different. There we go. That's it. Let's get into this tonight. Let's get our word of encouragement going. I wanted to share that out to a few people and close out this chat and make sure everybody knows that we are here. We are live in effect. Again, you can go to YouTube, True Dialogue Podcast, and we can get, here go our word of encouragement. Let's get into it. Falling is not failure. The lessons we learn in life from the things we endure in life are often like learning to ride a bike or skating. At first, you're scared, imbalanced, and you fall. Yet, you get up. Each time you get up, you gain power to overcome your fear. That resilience gives you the focus you need to balance yourself and continue to try. Ultimately, developing in you the endurance that leads you to conquering your failures, thus making you successful, allowing you to learn and achieve. So, y'all remember, falling is absolutely not failure. Sometimes we got to take an L. And I always say that L is a lesson. If you learn a lesson, you learn a blessing. Here we go. Part two of the Forgotten Crip with Duane Fitzpatrick. For those of you who were here last week, you know it was epic. You guys, family of overcomers, my loved ones, friends, and families, help me welcome once again our special guest, Duane Fitzpatrick, author of The Forgotten Crip.
Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us once again. Last week we
Pleasure to be here.
cut into the cake. It's a pleasure to have you. Don't duck. Don't duck. Last week we cut into the cake. We talked about the conviction. We talked about the conviction. You were wrongfully convicted. We went over the fact that that night you did let off some rounds, and I specifically asked you. I said, "You are 100% sure that you didn't hit that man?" You said yes. One of the things in your book, and I wanna say this, and I dug up some statistics because everybody knows with the True Dialogue podcast, we are not one of those podcasters and live streamers that be clout chasing and taking sound bites from other people's content and run with it. I like to do the work. I like to do the work. I read this whole book to make sure that I was ready and prepared for this interview. I have another interview coming up with a good, great person. His name is Derek Johns. He wrote a book, Humanity. I'm in the process of reading that. We'll talk about that at another time. So, with that being said, I do my research. And because of some of the things that you said in this book, as it relates to the injustices that black men predominantly face when dealing with laws and legalities in the system, in the confinements and constraints of the judicial system, not just in California, but across the nation. So I'm just going to read an insert and then I'm going to tap into some research, because this insert made me go do some research, because you were convicted in 1987. All this happened in 1987. So just to bring all the new viewers up to par, Duane Fitzpatrick in 1987 was convicted of California Penal Code Section 187, the capital crime of homicide, the unaliving of a white man named Robert Lee Bolinger. This incident took place in Montclair, California. Duane was sentenced to 27 years to life, and he served 33 years. He wrote a book called The Forgotten CRIP. And based on this book, this author, we are here today doing this interview. You can always go to YouTube or Spotify. Go to YouTube. You can get caught up with part one. I encourage you to do that, as well as read the book. And you can become acclimated. So that's just to let you know what was going on. When Duane was convicted, he was 19 when he got arrested, 20 when you actually got sentenced, correct? And you
Correct.
came home. You've only been home what, like 5, 6, 7 years?
6 years, right in the middle. Been home six
Ooh,
years. January makes 6 years.
6 years. Congrats.
In January
Six.
2020.
My God. So you were just about 50 when you came home. A little over
53.
50.
Yeah, went
53.
in at 20, came home at 53.
My God. And I said to you last week, and this is no disrespect, and I know you don't take it that way, that was literally your life. Because you went in there and you had to learn to, I don't know why Lawrence keep coming back on. Lawrence, go on over there to YouTube. You really had to learn. We'll go over that. So let me read this insert and I'm going to get into some research that I did. So this is page 93 of the book. You said the prosecutors purposely misstated evidence. The trained detectives flat out lied under oath, and the so called witnesses were brainwashed into believing I was, I'm sorry, the source of all of the city's problems. So they answered questions the way they were coached to answer them. Any eyewitness's testimony that didn't fit into the narrative of your guilt, my guilt, that the court had constructed was conveniently left out. I'm going to go on. You go on and say, on several occasions, I thought of yelling at the people I watched fabricate lies while they testified for the prosecution, but I had acted out in front of my all white jury. My fate would have been sealed. But if I had acted out in front of my all white jury, my fate would have been sealed. The best thing I could do for myself was to just sit there calmly as I could through the BS testimony and hope for the best. Right. And I said to you last week, here you are 20 years old. What was going through your mind? And you said to me that it's real. These people are not playing with me. So you feel, based on your status and stature, your attitude, your outlook, who you were at the time, that's the reason you were singled out.
Well, I think it was a big part of it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that of all the potential suspects, I'm the one that had a criminal history. I'm the one that was a documented gang member. I'm the one who not only looked the part, but I was the stranger in the neighborhood. Everybody else was family. that was a potential suspect. So it was kind of easy, you know what I'm saying, to paint a picture and get all the people that was in agreement, you know what I mean, to go ahead and collaborate to paint the picture that I was the guilty culprit, you know what I mean, and the only guilty culprit. So
Right.
yeah, it wasn't hard.
Do you do you believe in your heart that there was witness intimidation
Oh, absolutely.
from law enforcement? Do you believe
Oh,
that there was some witness intimidation?
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm gonna say something here that I have never, ever, 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 ever told anyone, and it just kind of always sat with me. And I'm gonna just say it this way: they absolutely will intimidate you, and I don't think the people in society that we are around, that feel we trust in, they don't, they absolutely don't help the situation.
Mhm.
They will fabricate stories based on things that they think they see in their with their they think they see things they
Mhm.
hear. They run with. That's why I don't like gossip, and it will land people in trouble. Because you know, I dealt with something really personal, and that was one of the things that they came at me with: conspiracy. Are
Mhm.
you kidding me? So when we talk about gang banging, right now there's a guy, a content creator. His name is Back Bracken. He went viral not too long ago because he did this video responding to F the street. And I stand with them, and I feel there should be a lot of other women speaking up because ultimately we really are the ones who are impacted. You had just had a baby. You had just gotten into a relationship. Do you believe that even though you were living a wild life, do you believe that you were really coming into yourself? You would have ultimately, had you not gone to prison and been convicted of this, that you would have ultimately settled down sooner than later, especially considering that one of your good friends. So during the course of this time, in 4 years, actually a matter of months, I mean in 1 year, in a matter of months, you said you lost four people.
Yeah, the 1 month of August of 1986. Yeah,
In
four
1 month,
four different people. Yeah,
four
that I knew.
different people, and that you knew, but one of them were extremely close to you. So do you feel that, considering you had a wonderful woman by your side, Darlene, shout out to Darlene, considering you had just had a child, do you feel that you would have eventually, and considering that your good friend Willie had passed away, got unalive, do you feel that you would have slowed your roll sooner than later had you not gone to prison?
Well, I'm definitely gonna be transparent and answer that as honestly as I can. Had I not gone to prison, I probably would have been dead at some point.
Okay.
Prison saved me. There were so many people that were gunning for me. There was so much anger, bitterness that was going through me that eventually would have spewed out one way or another. That's a question that I had to actually answer when I went in front of the parole board, was whether or not my conduct and my behavior would have changed had I not been incarcerated. And I had to get real with myself and realize that no, without that intervention, probably not. It
Probably
probably would
not.
have been later than sooner, if ever.
Right. 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 I think a lot of people need to be equally as transparent with themselves about that. Now, like I said, I'm gonna read something that I pulled up from some research that I did. But I think a lot of us, men and women, need to be equally as transparent and say, "Hey, prison saved me." And that was, you answered the question because I was gonna ask you that tonight. Do you feel that your incarceration, though you were wrongly convicted, saved you?
Yeah,
You said, yeah.
I believe so.
You
When I
spoke
look up,
about your mom. who was a great woman of God, a prayer warrior in your life, a great source of encouragement. You also spoke about how you went to Willie's grandmother after the funeral and you talked to her, and you said she said something to you and those words resonate with you to this day. If you don't mind, do you recall those words she shared with you?
Well, first of all, she thanked me, you know what I'm saying, for coming over, because like I said, it was like a spiritual thing. It was like she knew that I would be over there to talk to her and explain to her exactly what happened, that I wasn't going to leave that open like that. So when she prayed for me, prayed for, for my safety, for my health, for my well-being, and for my future, you know what I mean? That was that was kind of profound, you know what I mean, coming from somebody who I knew was in so much pain at the time, you know what I mean, losing a grandchild. So for her to to bless me, to pray over me, you know what I'm saying, to wish me well moving forward, and to tell me that she forgave me, you know what I mean, for any role that I had in his demise, was something that, again, like I said, I'll never forget.
Right, and so that is what stuck with you. That helped carry you through the forgiveness.
Absolutely.
The the forgiveness. So let me read this right now. This is some statistics that I want to bring up. And I want to remind our audience that Duane was convicted in 1987. And during that time, I don't think a lot of people realize that in the 80s, we were just coming off the back of the civil rights movement. The movement being in effect, as well as the Title 7 civil rights law being passed. At the time of Dwayne's conviction, and at the time of so many other black men across the nation being convicted wrongfully in the 80s, we were only 19, 20 years of being coming off the back of the civil rights movement and the Title 7 civil rights law being put into place. I'm going to read this. Here's some statistics. These are real facts. Since 1989, black people, not just black men, black people have accounted for over half of all exonerations in
Mm.
the United States, despite being only 13.6% of the population. Black Americans are 7 times more likely to be wrongly convicted of serious crimes than white Americans. In the 1980s, high rates of official misconduct, particularly drug cases, fueled these disproportionate wrongful convictions. Key statistics and findings: 1980s to present. Disproportionate representation. Black Americans constitute 52 to 53% of all exonerations recorded by the National Registry of Exonerations since 1989. Drug crimes. Black people were 19 times more likely to be wrongly convicted of drug crimes, often due to police framing in scandals during the late 1980s. Murder and, unalivings and misconduct. Black people convicted of unalivings are about 80% more likely to be innocent than white unaliving convicts. Among condemned inmates, exonerees, 85% of black exonerees were victims of official misconduct. Longer sentences. Black, unaliving defendants often spend 3 years longer in prison before being exonerated than white defendants. Police misconduct. Cases resulting in unaliving exonerations of black defendants were almost 50% more likely to involve police misconduct than those with white defendants. Sexual assault. A black prisoner serving time for sexual assault is 3.5 times more likely to be innocent than a white counterpart, often due to cross racial misidentification by black victims. These statistics, largely driven by policies and policing tactics initiated in the 1980s, highlight a deeply entrenched systemic racial bias in the U.S. criminal justice system. With that being said, and looking at those numbers, I want to particularly point out disproportionate representation. 52 to 53% of all exonerations recorded by the National Registry of Exonerations since 1989 were black people. Black people have accounted for over half of all exonerations in the U.S., despite being only 13.6% of the population. Looking at the listening to that, and again, these are statistics. If anybody wants to find this information, you can find this information on the National Registry of Exonerations 2024 annual report. And if you want, you like me, you can do some deeper research. I want to make it a point to note, by no means am I racial, racist, biased, prejudiced, or anything. I deal with facts. This is the True Dialogue podcast, guided by spirit, grounded in truth. It is not small talk. It is true dialogue. And with that being said, I must note once again that your conviction was due to a white man being unalive. Now, I have to specify this. This also occurred in Montclair, California. Montclair, which is 5, 10 miles maybe from Rancho Cucamonga. And we all know back then, anybody, I don't care if you're from LA, Compton, Watts, Long Beach, a lot of people be like, Rancho Cuca, what? Just the name says a lot. So listen to those numbers. Reading what you read and what I just read on page 93, it is absolutely safe to say that you were essentially the real victim.
Absolutely. My incarceration began before the O.J. Simpson trial, before the Rodney King beating. So potential jurors and people in society, the layman person would not believe that an officer would get on the stand and lie, that witnesses would lie under oath. They had a different belief at that time. So it was very easy, to paint a picture of a defendant and get everybody to go on board with it if that's the person that they want to take the fall. And that's what happened. I took the fall. But through the grace of God, he brought me out through the other end of it.
Right. Because there was a lot of prayer. I mean, you mentioned God, you mentioned your relationship, your mom inviting you to church. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you said that your mom, the day of your arrest or the day before, somewhere within close proximity of you being arrested, your mom had asked you to go to church and
You
you
know what?
swayed it up.
You know, growing up, we attended Sunday school. Our church is still standing. It actually started in my mother's living room. Bethlehem Temple is still standing today, right there on
Right?
Monroe Vista. It's still
What?
standing today. Um, she gave us a choice once we became teenagers to continue to, go to the service, but at the very least, still attend Sunday school. So um to go back to your to the point you were making, that was actually the morning that little Willie passed away. It was that morning that she had
Okay.
invited me to church that morning. And
Or was
like you
that
said,
morning?
it was actually that morning, that Sunday morning. And I remember telling her that, I made up a excuse story, but just told her I'd be out there maybe in the following week to come see her. But yeah, she invited me to church that morning, and I didn't go.
And you didn't go. Do
No,
you ever think to yourself that perhaps that would have been a saving moment for you? Like maybe had you gone, things may have gone different.
transpired that day. Yeah, there's a good possibility that the day would have played out differently. You know what I mean? I would have made my mind, my thoughts. Good possibility would have been somewhere else. It wouldn't have been on. You know what I mean? Being spontaneous and being stupid and being spontaneous to go do something negative. You know what I mean? Because
Right,
I wasn't a warmonger at that time. You know what I mean? So um, it was just a bad decision all the way around. You know what I mean? And it
right,
had, ramifications not only for myself, but obviously, what I'm saying, for the person who was impacted the most.
right. Now I did about a month or so ago. Last month or earlier this month, I did an interview with a young great friend of mine, Pastor Dominique Frank. And
Mhm.
you watched that interview and you
Yeah.
commented, and in that interview, she spoke of some injustices as well. She was arrested for a pretty serious crime. She was looking at life as well. Pastor to this day. The name of the interview was called "From Prison to Pulpit." She spoke of some injustices in that situation as well, right? In her situation, and her situation was in the 2000s. I want to make a note of this and ask you: would you agree or disagree? When we talk about gang banging, a lot of people want to take credit for creating the gangs. I surmise to say that Black people created the CRIP and Blood organization. Our adversaries created the gangs and ensued the violence between the gangs. What would you say about that?
Well, I would definitely agree because um, it was the gangs with the formulation, you know what I'm saying, from my understanding, was to, you know what I'm saying, kind of, lack of a better word, police our own neighborhoods. You know what
Right,
I mean? But in doing so, you know what I mean, uh, you had a lot of civil unrest. You had people, you know what I'm saying, that gonna disagree on things. And as a result of that, that's gonna cause conflict. And with us, you know what I'm saying, a lot of that conflict was kind of perpetuated by, what I mean, law enforcement. You know what I mean?
right.
They would pick up Crips, Bloods, drive them to opposing
It,
neighborhoods and drop them
hmm
off, and
hmm
you know what I mean, and then let them know. And then we just drop such and such off around the corner or down the street. You know what I mean? To help, you know what I'm saying, keep you know, that
Fuse
cycle of
going.
violence going. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly. Because in the late '80s and especially the '90s, I mean, woo, it was
It's
bad.
something else. Yeah.
And I just don't. Let's talk. Say this. Ice Cube did a movie, I believe it was Boys in the Hood, and there was a scene in
Hmm.
Boys in the Hood where the police did exactly what you said.
Hmm.
A content creator, Compton Rick Rock, shout out to Compton Rick Rock. He just did some content the other day, and he spoke about how the police would play the dozens. And Ice Cube in Boys in the Hood, or was it Colors? They noted that how they had the when they did the, I think that was Colors. They did the drive
Hmm.
and they had one friend in the interrogation room and another friend in the interrogation room, and they're the switch line to both of them.
Hmm.
Oh, your friend basically told on you. Oh no, your friend told on you. Neither when they played each other
Hmm.
against each other. I
Right.
personally believe that when a lot of that was at its highest height, there was no way people were doing that much. I believe that the police, in fact, were doing some of these drive-bys. I honestly believe that they were doing some of these drive-bys, and that's why I say the organization, because like you said, that's what I've always known it to
Hmm.
be. A
Hmm.
good friend of mine, rapper, big ups to Silky Fine. To me, she did one of the hottest songs a female could do. She dropped in 2025, and it's called "Take You Back." And in her first verse of that song, she says, "Police cars, red, white, and blue. the flag is red, white, and blue to separate, basically, and I'm paraphrasing,
The
me and you.
colors.
I'm gonna do some content on that,
Hmm.
and it is that first verse is so powerful and so true.
Hmm.
Then she says, on the hook it says, from the west side to the east side, from north side to the south side. uh I believe it says, throwing up gang signs and we don't even know why, right? So moving right along, I just wanted to know, like I said, reading those statistics, I would definitely agree that you were wrongfully convicted. I know for a fact this has been the history of us, and this is definitely what drives a lot of our anger. Those of us who come up in urban communities in the hood. You're convicted, you go to jail, you come down for your homeboy Lawrence. While you're in there, I want to get into this. This is, I mean, it's a lot. You guys go get the book. The book is just awesome. Awesome. You spoke about an attempted jail rape. And I want to point this out because here in times, these were things that are cliche. They tell you a lot of times, you hear about, especially men, you're gonna go to jail, your girl gonna leave you. What are some of the things that you hear when you went in there, that other inmates, or things that you've heard, that people will say to you to try to prepare you for this time that you have to do? Did you get me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I got to get the video back.
Okay, you good.
Somebody tried to call me just now.
Oh,
Um, and I didn't catch the back end of your question.
what are some of the things, like, now you got this time, you in there, you've been fighting this case, you fought your case for basically like 6 months. The jury came back pretty fast, and like I said, one man, one body, two trials, same verdict, guilty, because you did come back on appeal. What I was asking was, what are some of the things they say to you to help you, prepare for this journey ahead, man? You might as well let your girl go. She gonna leave you. What are some of those type of things that they say to you, other inmates say to you?
Well, well, the first thing that I heard was that you should never come to jail with only one woman. You know what I mean?
Mm,
In case, you know what I'm saying, that one that you think is gonna stay down with you does not. You know what I mean? But that was, farthest thing from my mind. You know what I mean? My relationship, I felt it was solid, but at the same time, we was young and I was out there doing wrong. You know what I mean? So uh hell, before I even left the county jail, I mean, since some of my indiscretions was coming back to her, you know what I mean? So her being young, her being needy, you know what I mean, her, you know what I mean, missing me, I mean, hell, I mean, things happen. But at the time, you know what I mean, of course, I mean, it was hard for me to accept, you know what I mean, because I didn't think that I had that type of heart, you know what I mean, that something like that would bother me, you know what I mean, to know that you know what I mean, she had moved on, and you know what I mean, in every conceivable way. So yeah, it was tough, but I mean, you hear from all the guys that have been there before that, man, you just gotta try to stay in their ear. You know what I mean, try to do what you can, and just basically get your writing together, because that's what you're gonna primarily be doing. Get your penmanship together. I mean, hell, start writing poetry. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you got to do. I mean, to keep somebody interested in you while you're in there. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot. You know what I mean? And being out there with my wife now, I understand that, because I see how difficult it is. You know what I mean? To support somebody while they're
yeah,
in there,
yeah,
particularly financially. I mean,
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of different things, but a lot of it, you know what I mean, you kind of take with a grain of salt, because until you actually have that personal experience, you can never really learn from it. You know what I mean? You can never really grow from it and come to terms with some things. You know what I mean? And yeah, just coming to terms with the reality of your situation, coming to the terms with the reality, you know what I'm saying, that hey, you know what I mean, life is gonna go on with you or without you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's something that I had to come to terms with. And when I was able to come to terms with that, because, like I spoke to in my book, it was easy for me to even say that my daughter wasn't my daughter. You know what I mean? When I first got to San Quentin, because I didn't want to deal with the pain of knowing that I had left her out there. You know what I mean? So that was
Do you
hard. You know what I mean?
do you think you said that you basically, and it was a very very short time that you just claimed your daughter, like you said you didn't want to deal with the pain that you had left her out there. So basically, you didn't want to take accountability for your actions that caused you to leave her. Do
Pretty
you
much.
think that there are a lot of men incarcerated who do the same thing, who emulate that blueprint? Not saying that the blueprint came from you, but who emulate that blueprint?
Yeah, I do. I do believe a lot of men, you know what I'm saying, kind of, for one, a lot of men in incarcerated are desensitized. You know what I mean? They're desensitized to a lot of things. Not only the images that we see on television, the catastrophes that take place, but watching people get chased around the prison yard, you know what I'm saying, and get butchered. You know what I mean? You see it so much, it's so common that you become desensitized to a lot of things. So it's easier to kind of deflect it, you know what I mean, opposed to having to deal with it. Because dealing with self is something else, you know what I mean? You really, really have to do a lot of introspection to really um get to the root of your issues, get to the root of your problems and what you're going through, so that you can come from that, come out of that, and then start to heal. Because until what I'm saying, you heal yourself. Because like I've heard you mention before, hurting people hurt people. So
Yeah.
you continue to make victims out of people that are incarcerated right along with you, because you haven't dealt with what what I mean, what's going on with you internally. So that's something that a lot of men that are incarcerated do. They just kind of numb themselves to anything, you know, outside of themselves.
That takes me into this. And so in the book, you're down, you're in the county jail. Something that's being spoken about a lot now. And a lot of times people say, oh, social media, because of social media, this, that, and the third. What I believe is because of social media and cell phones, a lot of stuff, a lot of things that have been hidden, a lot of things that have been in the closet, a lot of things that have been under the rug are now able to come to the forefront. There are a lot of inmates across the nation with cell phones in prison these days. And because of that, we are getting a chance to see the inside activities. One of the things that's up right now, heavy, you have a lot of inmates saying, hey, ladies, yeah, that man, if he's doing this, he's doing that, he has a prison wife that's a man. He's basically gay, gay gangster. Now, I want to say that to say this. With that, another thing that is right, you hear about the violence, and that's what I want us to get into. One of the things you hear about is men being raped by men. And in your book, you spoke about interceding on a, you talked about, and I'm just going to read a part here. You talked about a young man who was basically in the CRIP module. That there was a module in the county jail back in the 80s, right? They had the blood in the CRIP module. And
Mhm.
you spoke about basically he wasn't cut from the cloth that you needed to be cut from to endure the demonizing that takes place in the CRIP module at this time, being gang affiliated or a gang member. And so, because of that, I guess he came in, he was claiming a hood that wasn't his. Some people found out about it. They wanted to DP him. For those of you who don't know, that means discipline him. They came in, you guys let the fight go down because it wasn't your business, right? Somebody else's business. In the book, you say he didn't even fight back. He
No,
didn't
he
even
didn't.
he didn't fight back. And
No,
so
the worst thing you can do.
long story short, now they see he just weak, and I say weak for a better lack of words. So now they want to basically go in his peanut butter jar. And you say As he lay on the ground, somebody inside of the cell said, "Party time, homies," which meant that they were going to rape the young man right there on the floor of the CRIP module. Situations went on, long story short. You said at that point, I jumped in and said, "Cuz, hell nah, this ain't going down. F that. Y'all not about to rape this little NIGGA." People, listen to me. You gotta be some type of cannibal. Something got to be in you deep. Something. What made you stop that? What made you stop that? This is a rape. This has not. What made you stop that?
Well, having hadn't already been to prison, uh, and then coming down from prison, I used to hear a lot of older guys talk in prison, and one of the things that kind of stuck out in my mind was that they said if a brother or a person comes to prison that way, then he's that way. But if he's not that way, don't make him that way. You know what I mean? And I noticed that the Hispanic gangs, they didn't seem to prey on their own like that, like we did. So when I got down to the county jail and I saw that that was about to take place in my presence, the least I could do was intervene for the young man. Now I am going to say I did have a ulterior motive, and that ulterior motive was the fact that he knew my daughter's mother. He been with and played with my child before. So for me, he was a source of information.
You
And
said that.
I wanted to kind of, protect that because I knew that he had a direct line to my family once he emerged from the county jail. So I felt like if I did not, intervene, at least attempt to, that was something that he would always remember. And I didn't know, what might spiral, how's his life might have spiraled out of control at that point had that happened. But just my sense of knowing right from versus wrong, knowing that this young man was put in that position by the authorities who didn't like him, knowing how gangs prey on the weak, I realized that this dude, you know what I'm saying, he was about to have a awful life altering experience if I didn't intervene. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I even had
Go ahead.
I was gonna say
Hmm.
I had comrades of my own. From my own neighborhood that was kind of like telling me, stay out of that. Like they want to kick back and watch it like they was watching Netflix or something. Nah, hell no, this ain't cool. Let's get this dude up out of here at the very least. You know what I mean? So yeah, my sense of right and wrong and knowing that this young man was put in a no win situation, I didn't want that on my conscience. You know what I mean? So nah, I couldn't. I couldn't just stand by and just allow that to happen. Not on my watch. I couldn't.
Years ago, Master P did a movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I can't. It's not even coming to my mind right now. I need to Google it and see what the name of the movie was. But anyway, he did a movie, and in that movie, he did a scene. He didn't show directly the scene, but he emulated. You know what it was. In
Mhm.
that scene, you got, I believe it was three black men. They go to jail. The guards put they end up in prison. The guards put one of the black men in the cell with a white man. Have you ever seen this movie?
I think I have.
And
Master P, yeah, I have seen it. Yeah.
yeah, and the black boy gets raped by one of the white inmates. Okay,
Right.
is this truly, because I've heard it, right? I've heard it, and I know that it doesn't happen often in the women's prison, but it does happen. Is this something that genuinely happens in prison?
Uh, it can. Generally, I would only say if that individual kind of brought it on himself, meaning he was a snitch, he snitched on somebody. Um, he has maybe physical characteristics. You know what I'm saying? To some guys that have been incarcerated for a number of years, he might quote unquote, be feminine. You know what I mean? He might get put in a situation, you know what I'm saying, where he has to defend himself. And if he does not defend himself correctly, Yeah, you know what I mean? He will get
What
preyed
would
upon.
make somebody do that? Like, so are these men that themselves are what Ebony classified years ago as gay gangsters? Because what would make somebody do that to another man?
Right.
Oh my
Uh
gosh. Go
yeah,
ahead. I want to know. I'm
I
asking because I want people to know
mhm,
that this is real life. This is somebody who did 33 years. He's covered probably almost every prison, a great majority of the prisons in California.
yeah,
Okay, so what
go
would
for it.
make somebody do that? Like, if they're not just volunteering at the, what would make somebody do that?
Well, they lose a sense of direction, they lose a sense of reality. Uh maybe they're angry, they're bitter, they're lonely. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised how many men are incarcerated that have never had relations with a woman ever.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah. I won't
So
be, but I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you be surprised. And then you have so few, hell, even women that are working, especially in the maximum security prisons, for them to even, you know what I mean, pay attention to. So they can keep, I'm saying, their sense of humanity. You know what I mean? Um, for that mentality, I mean, you would definitely have to, interview one of them booty bandits to know what's going on in their brain for
I'm
them
not
to
asking you. I'm not. Yeah,
justify
I
their
get
behavior.
that.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I
No,
don't,
I
I
get
don't
that.
know.
I'm just
Something is
saying
off.
when I say that, I guess when I ask that question,
Mhm,
the picture, right? Like
mhm,
to me, but you just said something that was very important. You will be surprised how many men are incarcerated that have never been with a woman. So if you've never experienced, if I've never tasted peanut butter, right? If I've never tasted peanut butter, then I shouldn't have a desire for the taste of peanut butter. So why would I just want to? So maybe then they are aroused. Their curiosity is aroused because they hear the straight men coming in who have had relationships
mhm,
talk about what's going on, and that's what the, because I mean, okay, so if the person, like, in, is it realistic that if this were to happen, then that person, even though they're not gay, becomes that man's been in it, girl, be, I don't cuss, so bi,
uh, I
bi,
mean, I mean,
girl, do you
I mean,
understand what I'm saying?
yes, I,
Okay.
I do. You know what I mean? But that's what you call a broken man. A man has been broken. You know what I mean? And if he accepts his brokenness, I mean, I know of individuals who weren't that way, that got, you know what I'm saying, assaulted in that way, but they fought back. They went back at their attacker. You know what I mean? So it does happen in some rare isolated cases where some men, you know what I mean, they just up against it at that particular time. I mean, you got so many different ploys I've heard of where men are, they might get an individual drunk, you know what I'm saying, off prison booze, you know what I mean? So now he's inebriated. Now he's in a position where he can't,
Honorable.
defend himself, you know what I'm saying, the way that he probably would if he was sober. You know what I mean? Next thing you know what I mean, he get taken advantage of. You know what I mean? So again, it's not as common, um, I think nowadays, because a lot of prisons are kind of separated. They try to keep those flamboyant people that are, LBGTA, whatever they call it nowadays.
LGBT.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm
LGBTQ.
trying to be politically correct myself. They got so many, categories, you know what I'm saying? But they kind of keep those flamboyant ones kind of isolated away from general population. Um,
Right. I hear
more,
they go to, I
yeah,
guess, like
they got
PC or
designated.
something.
Yeah, they got designated prisons where they try to keep uh majority of those individuals. But of course, you got some that's undercover. You know what I mean? Of course, you got some that used to get down, but probably don't no more. You know what I mean? But again, when they go certain places, somebody knows them. You've been in prison for any amount of time, it's unlikely that you're gonna go somewhere where somebody doesn't know you or know of you. Especially, I'm saying, nowadays with the cell phones and even the tablets, floating around. The communication is there. It wasn't like it was when I I started doing my time. You know what I mean? And we had to work. We had to depend on snail mail. It was different.
So when you say a broken man, what does that really
Well,
look like? I know
a man that
he was
um,
taken.
yeah, a man that's has been sexually assaulted by another man. You know what I mean? His manhood at that point is kind of lost. That's something he can't never get back. You know what I mean? Um, so it's on that individual whether he just give up on life, live. You know what I'm saying, with the guilt or the shame, and just tuck his tail and just again maybe
Submit
become that,
that.
man, full wholeheartedly. But you got some, you know what I mean, that I've seen in riots, you know what I mean, that's out there chunking them, swinging knives like everybody else. You know what I mean? But it just all depends on the individual. You know what I mean?
So there probably has been a very small number of men who have that has happened to, that have been raped in prison and then they unalive themselves because mentally they can't handle that
With
this
the
happened.
shame. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I agree.
And then the flip side is there have been some who have been raped and ended up with doing a more significant amount of time than they came in there because you're not gonna do this to me. You
Yeah.
did you did that, but now I'm gonna do this.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about. I remember in the '90s there was Corcoran was on the map about this thing about they called them pit bull fights.
Mhm.
You spoke about going to the shoe and doing time there. You spoke about seeing Tookie Williams. You spoke about seeing another and you even end up coming across his son years later.
Little
I
took.
want to say this before I go on. With that being said, there was a young lady, Chandra Jennings, known as Little Mama. She said that you took her son under your wing when he went to prison. I guess he had 19 months to do. That was his first time, or whatever. And you looked out for him. What would be the premise? You found out who his mom was, and you looked out for him. Was that out of because you guys grew up in the same area? Was it out of the compassion of who you were and knowing who you were as a man and knowing the ins and out of the system, or what constituted you doing doing that, looking out for him?
Well, my sense of loyalty, you know what I'm saying, to the old neighborhood at that time was still very strong. So anybody that I ran across, I would always, you know what I mean, try to look out for them, teach them the ins and outs, pros and cons of doing time. And once I started running across, he might have been the first one. Once I started running across children of homeboys and homegirls of mine, I knew I was in there too long. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, this you such and such daughter, you such and such son.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, wow. You know what I mean? That's when it really started clicking for me. Like, I got to get the hell up out of here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean? But he was he was a cool youngster, and he listened. You know what I mean? So anybody, you know what I'm saying, that's willing to listen, just like Tookie's son, if they're willing to listen, I'm willing to continue to communicate with them, continue to talk to them, continue, you know what I'm saying, to share my knowledge and my experience, my wisdom, um, with them. You know what I mean? Because I know that what I'm going to tell them is going to be accurate. It's going to be the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to let them know exactly what to do and what not to do. And when I found out that he was someone that would listen, and I knew his mother, I knew his uncles, you know what I mean? I knew
Right.
his family, you know what I mean? So, and then the fact, like I said, he was respectful,
Hmm.
and the fact that he listened, all the ingredients was there for me
For
to
good.
kind of cover him as much as I possibly could. Because at that particular yard, we were at Centinela State Prison. One half of the yard, like 3 buildings, was level 4. He was on the other side of the gate, which was a levels 3. You know what I mean? But we were able to see each other. We were able to communicate. We were able to interact with each other. So yeah, it was just something that I tried to do for anybody and everybody that I ran across. And I'm saying that turned out to be worthy of it.
Um. so the violence that ensues in there, how much looking at Corcoran and how the guards were pitting, and I do mean
Okay.
pitting because they called it the pit bull fights. They were
Yeah.
pitting inmates against each other, and this had made national news. They got sued. This had a great impact on the overall prison system to a degree. Overall, even outside of Corcoran, how much would you say the police are engaged in the violence that takes place inside the prison system?
Well, because I've been home for 6 years and they still got the same stuff going on. Officers in there, they get paid hazard pay when prisons are on lockdown, meaning they make more money. They get paid for overtime. It's for them, it's an incentive to keep the prisons on lockdown as much as possible because they get more money. They can have money for Christmas in the first quarter of the year by keeping the prison on lockdown. You know what I mean? Longer than it needs to be. They'll drop kites indicating that there's about to be attacks on staff just so they can search, just so they can have potluck. You know what I'm saying, during the course of their shift, opposed to letting inmates out to program. So
So
yeah,
you
they
mean
do a lot of things.
inmates notify the guards?
That happens as well.
Because you said they drop a kite.
You got inmates that drop a case. You got staff. Understand? I'm saying that'll spread a rumor. That'll hell, they may even
Oh,
write the
to
kite themselves.
inmates.
Exactly. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
so
Just
it's
to
staff that
to
when you
keep it
were
going.
saying that, you were saying that it's staff that lets inmates know this is going to take place.
I think that probably goes both ways nowadays.
Wait,
'Cause
okay.
again, with those cell phones being in there, you don't know who has whose number. You know what I mean? Um, it's a lot of that going on where you got staff that actually go out of their way to communicate with certain individuals. They may be shot callers that will orchestrate a situation so that they can facilitate a lockdown, or facilitate getting an inmate stabbed, booked, raped, whatever. You know what I mean? Just so they can feel better about themselves or generate more money. It's just scandalous all the way around. What goes on in there, and it's sad, and it's things that people in society don't know or realize, or that's not talked about, not discussed enough. But it's still going on today. You know, I was just
And
talking to a couple of individuals just yesterday, and they were saying they were on lockdown because of a lack of staff. You know what I mean? But they've
yeah,
been doing that
I
kind of stuff
actually
for the
had a
longest.
friend today say that
Mhm.
she went to see her son, I guess not too long ago, and they
Mhm.
drove, I don't know, like 11 hours. And no sooner than they got there, they were put on lockdown. She was like, she was upset. I said, they didn't let you get an emergency. She was like, no, did you try and go back there? She said, it was just an all out no. So you could
Right.
schedule a visit and the things. 'Cause I think now you got to schedule a visit and stuff.
Maybe.
And, um, so you could schedule a visit and end up showing up and just be butt out of luck. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, then when it comes to the violence, how on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the number is that the police are involved in constructing violent activity in the prison system?
Well, definitely, I would say more than half the time.
Mm. So 6 or 7.
6.5 to 7. Yeah.
7. Okay. Okay. Cell phones came out of nowhere. Everybody got a cell phone. Well, now they have tablets, but so I guess the cell phone thing is like dying down. What is the percentage that you would say the guards are involved in bringing cell phones and drugs into the prison?
I mean, they've been a part of that since the beginning of beginning of time. So it's nothing new. Um, they involve themselves in it because it's a benefit to them. You know what I mean? I think they only get paid maybe if not once a month, every biweekly. So of course, if they can make some money off somebody else's misery, they'll do it. I mean, they'll sell a phone,
What
bring a
about the
phone, work with somebody, you know what I'm saying? I mean, control that'll, that'll facilitate selling it. Hell, and then go search they sell and get it back just so they can sell it again.
again? Mm, mm, mm.
You
So
know,
they
that
themselves
happens.
is manipulators and hustlers. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're officers. They're part of the civilian world. But what about the administrative civilians, like the nursing staff, doctors, and things like that?
Uh, I think it's a good possibility that I mean they're human. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So they can be coerced, they can be manipulated, they can be threatened, you know what I mean, just like anybody else. Now, whether or not
Hmm.
they choose to indulge, you know what I mean, it happens. I don't think that's as common as the guards who have more access directly to inmates' welfare that
Right,
are
right.
around inmates a little bit more because you have to actually leave for the most part your unit, you know what I mean, to get
Hmm.
where nursing stations are and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's happened. Sure it happened.
Right, right. Um, uh, you lost your mom. A lot of the things, like I said, they talk about, your mind, your this, the homies, this. But there are some things that they don't tell you that you will deal with, and that's what I was asking you earlier. You lost your mom in there. You lost a sister. We talked about this before. You said that when you got sentenced, you have to act like, right, that it don't hurt, it don't bother you. Certainly, when you lost your mom, the act was over.
Yeah,
And I mean, at that point, you lost your dad while you were in there too,
yeah. I lost my
right?
father while my initial jury was in deliberation.
Right.
That's when I
Okay.
lost my father. But my
Right.
mom, I guess the Lord, I'm saying, had had a design because I was already in that seg. I was already in administrative segregation, which is a hole at the
Hmm.
time when my mother passed away. Because had I not been, I would have been on my way to the hole because I would have just picked me somebody to take my anger out on. So he already had me in the hole with somebody that I got along with very well. So it was kind of easy for me to kind of, be myself and deal with, you know what I'm saying, that horrible reality, you know what I mean, that I wasn't gonna never hear my mother's voice again. So yeah, hell yeah, it hurt. It still
What
hurt.
are, uh, uh, you have been incarcerated for how long at the point that you lost your mom?
Uh 20 years, approximately 20 years. Because I passed went in there, arrested in 86. My mother passed away in 96. The day before Easter in 1996.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that she had passed away the same year Snap died, and I think you went to your mom's funeral. I almost want to say, but it has been, yeah. Oh wow. What is? Do you think there are a lot of people put in the hole, the shoe? What is? It's called the what is it? Segregated.
Ad said,
Yeah, but what's the
administrative
shoe?
segregation.
That's administrative. So what's the shoe?
The shoe is, yeah, pretty much the same thing. Segregated housing using.
Segregated housing.
Hmm.
What do you think there are people, inmates there, wrong, just like inmates are wrongfully convicted? Do you think that the COs use ASEG in the shoe as a means of controlling or over asserting their authority or perhaps taking advantage of their authority?
Oh, absolutely. Because you're isolated. You're in a situation where, you know what I mean, the majority of your peers cannot see what's going on or maybe even what's happening to you because you're isolated. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking about just putting them in there. Like, so you're in general population,
Hmm.
and you, do you think that a lot of the officers put inmates in the shoe or ASEG wrongfully for no real just reason as a mean to control
Yeah,
or,
retribution. Absolutely. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. That happens as well. Because in there, you know what I'm saying, from the time you get arrested, it's all about the pen. It's all about what somebody puts on paper. It's all about what
Right.
somebody types up. And if they have the right sergeant, lieutenant that's going to have the hearing behind what you were accused of, and it's it's like a little kangaroo court. They find you guilty, you're on your way to the king. You're on your way to the O. So yeah, that happens pretty often. Yeah, they'll fabricate a lie. They'll fabricate a story. They'll fabricate evidence. You know what I'm saying? Or they may just even take a inmate's word. You know what I'm saying, via kite or something. All they gotta do is have somebody else. You know what I'm saying, might be another one of their CIs that agree with them. That's all it takes. They had you sitting up in a hole for a year and a half or longer, maybe even indeterminately, depending on the situation.
Indeterminately.
Yeah, depending on the
How can they
situation.
do that? Isn't that like inhumane? When you say indeterminately, what explain? I want to make sure I know what that means, but I want to make sure that in this context I know what that means. What do you mean by indeterminately?
Well, it's that means yet to be determined on when they're gonna let you up out of there. You know what I mean?
Right. So you
Like I
just
went to
maybe today, maybe not.
well, they stretch out those hearings. You know what I'm saying, you might go in front of a classification committee every month, every 90 days. You know what I'm saying, depending on what you're back there for, or you could be back there indeterminately because they're doing an investigation into whatever you're back there for. You know what I mean? So that could stretch out. You know what I'm saying, for months, possibly years. You know what I mean? Depending on,
Right.
again the situation. Because if you're back there, for example, hypothetically, if you're back there for a kite, somebody dropped a kite saying you're about to do something to somebody, and now you're back there and you're getting into situations with people. You're back there getting into fights or whatever is going on back there in the hole. Now you've extended your stay beyond the initial reason that you're back there. So, like I say, it's a lot of variables, a lot of things that can transpire that can keep you back there even longer. And that's
So
where the indeterminate part comes in at.
okay, okay. Um, what would you say the mental impact is on an individual who goes to the shoe? You spoke of you mentioned your first time going to the shoe. You go to the shoe, there's nothing in there. They've taken all your stuff from you, but lo and behold, you find a book.
Oh, come in San Quentin. Yeah,
You find
yeah.
a book.
Still remember the name of it, Eye of the Needle. Yeah,
Right? And so you
yeah,
find this book, you read this book, and when you come out of there, you leave the book, which I'm sure whoever was in there before you left the book, and so you knew I'm gonna leave the book for whoever comes in after me. What
right.
would you say the impact on an inmate? What would you say the impact of the shoe or asset is on an inmate's mental health?
You definitely got to be mentally strong. You know what I mean, if you don't have fortitude, you're gonna need to learn it. I'm saying, whether that's through constant meditation, prayer, reading, and who you interact with back there. Because even back there, you gotta choose your associates wisely. Mentally, because it's so much sensory deprivation back there, to where you don't have an opportunity to really interact with a whole lot of people physically. All your communication is kind of like written, or if you're fortunate enough to be able to go out to exercise yard, nowadays they put them in almost individual cages. Maybe if you got a cellmate, they may put you and your cellmate into a so you're not really, you know what I mean, you're not really interacting physically with other people. And so mentally it takes a toll on you, because if, for one, you're caged within a cage. You know what I mean? So yeah, you definitely have to keep your mind kind of occupied. You know what I'm saying? To not so much focus on what's going on, because if you do, it's so easy to get caught up in all the foolishness that takes place back there. Because some of them, they're comfortable back there, believe it or not. Some of them, you know what I'm saying, would rather be in the hole than they would rather
Yeah,
than on than on the main line. You know what I mean?
because it
So
eludes a lot of the mess. You're,
yeah,
I've heard that. I've heard that sometimes people do little things to go
yeah,
because it just keeps them. They do they. they just out the way. The level of violence in the prison, honestly speaking, the level of violence on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say is the level of violence that happens in prison?
Well, the level of violence could be anywhere from maybe a 7 to a 8. You know what I mean? Depending on the situation. You know what I mean? Depending on what's going on at the time. Racial riots, they're probably the most dangerous because you got people all around you. You know what I mean? Going at it. And you got the officers, you know what I'm saying, who are, firing live rounds at you, you know what I mean, trying to quell the violence or maybe trying to shoot someone in particular, you know what I mean? So the level of violence, it can be high at times, it can be very low at times. It just all depends on the caliber of people that you have in one particular place at one time, meaning one particular facility at one time. If you have a majority of individuals that have a level head that are willing to communicate, what I'm saying, to kind of, what I'm saying, keep stuff to a minimum, then you can just have maybe some isolated incidents. But if you don't, oh yeah, it can be a powder keg. It's just a matter of time before it erupts, and that can be a real dangerous situation for everybody, inmates and staff.
In your 33 years, in the 33 years that you did, what was what would you say the level of recidivism was?
It's right.
How many people in your 33 years did you see return to prison?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
And
Oh yeah,
often,
definitely. There was one that I can think of in particular. In a 7 year span, I saw him parole 7 times. And when I left, he was finally in there on a 3 strike case, and he was in there crying like a baby because now they got him. Now he's in there with 25 to life, and he's trying to figure out what happened, the injustice that was done to him on this one particular case that they finally threw the book at him on. But I saw him leave 7 different times. You know what I mean? And they came back on parole violations.
right. When you see this as someone who is sentenced to 27 years to life, first time ever doing some time, first time ever going to prison. You had been to camp, you had been to juvenile hall, you never even have been to the
No.
youth authority. This is your first time going to jail. You have, well,
Right.
going to prison, doing some, 27 years. When you see people with a high recidivism rate returning like a revolving door, what goes through your mind?
Uh, for a number of years, all I said to myself was, I just need one time. Just give me one more chance. You know what I mean? Please. You know what I mean? God, you know what I'm saying? Give me one more chance. And I remember making a prayer when I was back on my appeal in 1990 when I was in the old San Bernardino County Jail and I got convicted again for the second time, wrongfully convicted. And I remember making a prayer and I said to God, I said, God, release me when you know that I'm ready. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be one of these people that come back, one of these
That
people that
come
don't
back.
take what happened to them seriously. I want you to wait until you know I'm ready. I didn't know God was gonna wait 30 more years, you know what I'm saying, before he let me go.
That,
But he let me go. And every single day, I'm grateful that I'm home in one piece.
that's that's a powerful prayer. That's a very submissive and humbling prayer. When we spoke over the phone, one of the things I said we had briefly discussed was when you're incarcerated, not saying you individually, but in general, right? When people are incarcerated, one of the things we do is God pray, help me, get me out. I won't promise. You got all these promises, and I said to you, but God knows our heart. And a lot of people wonder why He doesn't show up, and that type of submission is truly required to say I'm really not I'm not
Right,
doing this. I'm not coming. This is not me. This is not
right,
for me. This is not where I
right.
want to be. And that's what I'm saying. When you think about here you are 20 years old, you get 33, 27 years to life. How many people, honestly, in the time that you've done, have you seen come in with a date and never go home?
Several, and they're all men that I'll never forget. You know what I mean? Take their own lives, um, because they, yeah,
But I mean, okay, so
yeah,
take their own lives.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead with
yeah,
that one.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
say
yeah,
that too.
yeah. A number of men that I remember I'll never forget. Yeah, took their own life that I was kind of close to, but for one reason
And
or
they
another,
had a
and
date.
they had a day. One of them had cancer. You know what I mean? He was out of LA from Menlo, and he had got cancer, and he still had a number of years to do, but he said that he didn't want to allow himself to deteriorate. You know what I mean? While he was alive,
Yeah.
so in there, and so he just decided to check out. You know what I mean? So yeah, it happens. You know what I'm saying, some men, they can't mentally, they can't deal with the day-to-day rigors of that experience. You know what I mean? One reason or another, whether family abandoned them, other loved ones abandoned them, homies abandoned them. And then they're doing bad. You know what I mean? Don't have the things that they need to kind of sustain them. You know what I mean? So I mean, what goes through their mind is self sabotage, and it happens more often than people think.
Yeah. So what about having a date? You come in, like, how many people have you seen come in? They have a date and they end up not going home because now they have caught a new case that has rendered them they're stuck.
Well,
How many people have you seen come in and end up stuck in there?
yeah,
I'll put it
I've
that
I've
way.
seen a handful of them come in for one charge, and next thing you know, they're getting charged with other things, either other crimes that they committed prior to that particular incarceration, or end up catching a new case in there, and end up getting either a third strike or getting a life sentence because they killed somebody on accident. You know what I mean? It happens. It happens more, and that's another thing that happens more than people think, more than people probably can imagine. It does happen. But
Right.
one thing my mother always told me was, don't get yourself in. You're in trouble. Don't get yourself in more trouble. So I always tried to remember that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you said that. When you lost your dad, you lost your mom, and it seems that shortly after your mom, a year or so later, what have you, you end up losing your sister. Needless to say, all of the friends, we won't even get into that. What is the impact of that on you? Like you said, it still hurts to have lost your mom. At that point, when you get your time, you gotta act like. But when you get the word of your mom, you broke down.
Yeah.
You fell to the ground. You broke down crying. When it came to your sister, you were also in the shoe, right? When you got
No,
that news, right?
I was in general population when my sister passed away, Deborah. Yeah. Yeah, I was in
Okay,
general
but
population.
someone, you were in your cell. They call and you thinking it's your homeboy, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. But all the time it
Yeah.
was you. You go out, you get that news. You have all this going on. You're in there. The book is called The Forgotten Crip. Is gangbanging worth it?
Hell no. Not at all. Not at all. And anybody, I'm saying, that thinks it
What?
is, or still has that belief in their of age, they're definitely got something going on mentally that's not right, I'll say.
Right, right. So when I say is gang banging worth it, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to remain authentic. I'm saying, be the person that you were brought up to be. You know what I mean? Don't try to fit in. Don't try to blend in. Continue to be you. You know, have your goals. Growing up, the only dream I probably had was to play center field for the New York Yankees because that was my favorite baseball team, and that's probably the only thing that I ever thought about. growing up as something that I wanted to do when I became of age. But once I kind of my sports career kind of got derailed by this other stuff, um, that became like a something that was out of my mind, too distant to obtain at that point. So yeah, I would definitely tell my younger self to to stay on the right track like I do nowadays. When you notice you're doing something right, you're doing something productive, keep doing that. You know what I mean? Don't deviate from that.
Mhm.
I mean, because when you deviate, you know what I'm saying, from that and you become somebody that you weren't raised to be, somebody that you weren't, that's not in you to really be to that extent, to that extreme, don't do it. You know what I mean? Just stay original. Be yourself.
Is what you would tell your younger self, is that the same thing you would tell a younger man?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
would tell them not to try to fit
I
in.
think.
Be themselves.
Mhm. 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 What if they came to you and said, "You know what? Uh, somebody won't give me a. You know, I'm getting ready to go on a lick. I'm getting ready to go put in some work." Is what I'm trying to say. What would you say to them?
I would tell them that it's not worth it. It's not worth it to you. It's not worth whoever it is that you're about to uh, perpetrate on, because it's going to have ramifications, and those ramifications could be immediate. Those ramifications could come at a later date, at a later time. That's why I didn't return to society bitter about everything that transpired, because I knew that there were a lot of things that I did get away with. You know what I mean? I'd committed crimes, I'd hurt people. So I knew that there were things that was kind of catching up to me. You know what I mean? I could have been dead. You know what I'm saying? Where there were other people that were falling around me when I was the intended victim. That's not what I mean, the outcome that, God had for me. He chose, you know what I'm saying, to sit me down and correct me, to get me to reconcile to him. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's just some tough decisions that you got to make. You know what I mean, amongst your peers. It's not always going to be the popular
Right.
decision, but you got to make it. You got
Right.
to make it.
Right.
You know what I mean, and just live with
Right.
the outcome.
Right.
You know.
Right. Would you say the true leader, the person with the real willpower, the true leader is the one who can really stand up against those pressures of gang banging in the hood and say, I don't care, I'm not doing that. Somebody I seen something on a man saying today that if you hang up your rag, you have no say so in the hood. And the gentleman I mentioned earlier, back Bracken, said, "Yeah, right. I'm gonna show you that you can." Do you believe that? Do you believe that if you stay away, you don't got no, like you have no say? You can't influence. You can't be an influential voice to your quote unquote younger homies in the hood.
Uh, I believe that you can make a positive impact on individuals that are still caught up in that lifestyle by letting your actions line up with your words. Because
Right.
if your actions is not lining up with your words, then that means that you're not authentic. That means that you're not genuine. That means you're not believable. So that means that that's not going to persuade them to do something different when you're not even doing the
Right.
things that you claim to be about at this point in time in your life. So in order for them to kind of learn from you and maybe latch on to your belief system, maybe at a younger age, your actions got to line up with what's coming out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Because if that don't line up, then hell, you know what I'm saying? Then you've lost your credibility. So I think that you can influence a whole generation by just
Right.
continuing to be what you proclaim to be. They're gonna be watching, just
Right.
like we go to church and we watch the pastor and we watch, you know what I'm saying, what's these deacons and everybody, and we watching them, you know what I'm saying, like a hawk to see any flaws, you know what I mean? So it's the same thing in the street life. If you're in the street, I'm not in the street, you know what I'm saying, but I'm home. I'm from the street, but that's not That's not what I'm into with this. I'm into family. I'm into doing what
Right.
I know I'm supposed to be out there doing. God didn't spare my life and put me back out into society to go backwards. So going backwards to that mentality, to that lifestyle, that's not an option for me. You know what I mean? That's not an option. So they can either
I commend you for that. You have nothing to prove. Nothing,
right,
absolutely nothing to prove. I'm gonna ask you three quick questions, and we're gonna wrap up. We kind of went long, but like I said, you guys go get the book, memoir, The Forgotten Crip, a memoir by Duane Fitzpatrick. It is available on Amazon. Very good book. The book is designed. He's sharing this story as a word of encouragement. You heard him. You heard it here from his mouth. It's not worth it. The justice system often is the most injustice system. Prison is not worth it. You put your life in more danger by being incarcerated than you do living on these streets. One, mentality has a lot. The Bible says, "Be do not conform to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." I watched the interview of you and your daughter Destiny, and in that interview, one of the things that you said was, "I always see myself out of here," and that was powerful to me. Because this is the thing: when you said you had spoke with Willie's grandmother and she prayed for you, I said that's why he's home. And then when you spoke about your mom, right? I thought about the two, and I'm like, okay, that's why God is good. But God is a Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the great Truine, the Trinity. So I'm thinking to myself, what's this third? Like, and I'm not finding it. But when I watched that whole event, that interview was like 2 hours or so. That stood out to me. You said, I always mentally, mentally was out of here. That for me was that third. That for me was that
mhm.
connection. Do you think that you spoke earlier about people being desensitized? So do you think in part of being a part of that desensitization is that they have lost the mental fortitude and have accepted mentally that they were going to always be there. You never accepted that you were going to always
No,
be there.
not at all. No,
You never
no.
accepted that. And that was powerful and you made it home. Now, you and Darlene, and I say this, I keep giving props to Darlene because you guys were together when you went. She was the mother of your first child. And even though there was a time she got married, that didn't work, she was back at you. You guys kind of had this teeter
On
totter
and off again, right?
relationship. Right. But one thing about it, she always made sure that you were in touch and had a relationship for the most part with your daughter. She always seemed to step up at the significant times
Mhm.
in your life. And so, more importantly, she ensured that you guys had a friendship. How important was that to the strength of you as a man in doing your time?
Well, it allowed for that dark cloud never to kind of like pervade my existence. You know what I mean? Um, there was a level of stress that was taken off of me, knowing that I still had a direct line to my daughter, that I still had a direct line to my daughter's mother, that she was still interacting with the family. That was important. You know what I mean? Because once I realized that I couldn't hide or shun my responsibility of being a father, she even told me, hey, start printing your letters because your daughter wants to read them herself instead of me reading them to her. So yeah, she told me that,
Okay.
and so I started printing them. You know, what I mean, she said, "Talk to your daughter." You know what I'm saying? Quit, all the "I loved you" stuff, because talk to your daughter. You know what I mean? So I started talking to my daughter, and that helped the relationship, grow and evolve. And that connection
Mm-hmm.
was always there. It helped carry me, through the dark times, what I mean, through the heavy times in which I had to, deal with a lot of loss and hurt and anger and,
Right.
and things. So yeah, it was definitely profound.
Right. Very, very. And so I'm sure there you guys are still
Yeah,
in touch because you still talk to your daughter or whatever. So there's a great level of respect
absolutely.
there. Absolutely. Big ups to you, Darlene, one more time. Big, big ups. Big, big, big ups. And the reason I say that is because, it's always said that women will just fold on you. And I think support is important. I think I commend you for not expecting her, for taking accountability for your actions as a man and not expecting her to really just
You just
run
do
it
that
out
time.
for you. However, as a woman, I also think that when we get into situations with certain men and we know their lifestyle, we know what the possibilities are, what can come with that
Mm,
lifestyle. And so when we marry the two, when we engage in that man, we accept what comes with that and understanding that them taking that fall is a part of that. I think being committed to that relationship to me means being committed as well to to the consequences. I'm gonna say this, and this is funny. This is gonna be funny. You guys don't laugh, but I'm gonna say this. So you end up getting married. Did you get married while you were
yeah.
incarcerated? Because you're
Yes.
married now. Okay. So for a moment they had stopped having conjugal visits. No time did you get conjugal visits because you got married. What towards the
Yeah.
latter part?
2017.
So you're seeing, Darlene, you got your homeboy's cousin came to see you. So you have a little feel. You're getting a little remiss, but this is I have to just ask. Being with a woman for the first time, being with a woman after 33 years, you come, so your wife you're with now, was there was a family visit before you
Yeah.
came home. What was I don't get too detailed, but what was it like?
Um. Well, it was awesome for one. Um. um.
I mean, I'm sure she had been coming
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
prison
Yeah. I
to
mean,
you guys
yeah.
are
Yeah.
talking,
We've
seeing
been,
each other.
intimate as
She's
we could
coming
be in
to
the
the
visiting
prison
room.
to
But yeah.
right, right. But I'm talking about now you get a
Yeah.
family visit. I mean, you get the filler, you get the
Mm,
toucher. What is that like to like you around all these freaking wiggling bats?
right.
Like going to the visiting room has to be like, ooh, a breath of fresh
Yeah. It
air.
is. It is.
Right? And
It is.
especially when it's a woman that you can, not your mom, not your
Right.
sister, not your
Right.
daughter, even though I
Right.
love them, I want to see
Right.
them too, but I get to feel
Yeah.
some,
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. It sets you apart. It sets you apart. It makes you
yeah,
one of those rare individuals that's actually getting, what I mean, some affection. You know what I mean? Which, from the opposite sex. That's yeah, pretty, pretty important. It helps humanize you. It helps keep you, focused. You know what I mean? It helps keep you, gravitating towards, the things that are normal. You know what I mean?
and positive and things like
Absolutely.
that. So now, okay, so you get to feel her skin, you can smell her, just, you know what I mean? Do you take these things back to you to the cell? Like, do they really last mentally
Oh
to
yeah.
you?
Oh,
Smelling.
definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
So now you get a family
Mhm.
visit. What is it like to just really? This is your first time being. How long, Dwayne, had it been since you had
Mm.
actually been with the woman when you finally get this family, your first
Yeah, when
family
I left the
visit?
street, shit, the end of 1986, all the way up until when I came on 2019. Yeah, all the way up until 2019. So you're talking about, span of well over 30 years. You know what I mean? Since yeah, it was surreal. You know what I mean? Almost.
Wait. You had a family visit before you came
Yes,
home
that's what
with your
that's what I
wife.
mean. I didn't come home till 2020. The initial family visit was in 2019.
Oh, so you had a family visit
Yeah,
barely before you
yeah, we
came
got married
home.
in 2017, but
So,
they weren't giving lifers family visits, constant visits
but right, they
until
had
yeah.
stopped
So
for.
I actually met the criteria to get one in 2019.
So was it like learning all over
Oh no, it's
again?
like riding a bike. Oh no, no, you jump right in. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know how to swim, but people say they know how to swim. You just get in and start paddling. You know what I mean? Oh hell no,
Oh, it
no.
might right when they're swimming. You need to learn
Yeah,
how to
yeah, I don't know how
swim.
to swim. I like water, but I don't like big bodies of water.
But you need to learn how to swim. So, but you get this family visit, and now it's like the how am I trying to say the chains are kind of falling off. I mean, you got to be when you go on this family visit, just in that moment, you're just taking it
Oh,
all in,
definitely.
right? Like this is
Yeah.
the dream. Because family visits are what 2 3 days.
It's like about almost 2 days, about 2.5 days maybe. You might go out there on a Monday,
But
come back on
that
a
two
Wednesday.
days seems like what like you trying to make like a
Oh
months
yeah, yeah. You're
whatever,
trying to stay
right?
out there as long as
So you
possible.
you possible, right? So the eating, the food, the all of that is very joyous. You enjoy it. You feel more calm. You feel more relaxed. You
If you're
feel
human.
more. You have more
Yeah.
endurance and things like that. I can go back and endure. And so now this is like, I mean, being in the visiting room, but now I get to lay down next to a
Privacy.
woman. I get to well, yeah, I mean it's deeper
Yeah,
than that, right?
definitely.
So how that's what I'm saying. How was it? Like, did you make sure? I want you right up under me. I need to. I'm trying to keep my hand on you like at all times. You
I
know what I
mean, yeah,
mean?
I mean, that was our opportunity to.
I'm not saying like
I know what you mean.
intercourse at all times. I'm just saying I want
Yeah,
to be.
yeah.
You know,
Um, that was our opportunity to consummate the marriage. You know what I mean? So in
right?
consummating it, of course, that brings that deeper connection for us because we've known each other, almost 6 years to that point. We've been visiting with each other almost 6 years to that point. So being able to make that connection kind of allowed everything else to kind of like go to a whole nother level. So yeah, it was definitely bonding. You know what I mean? That time. I mean, we wasn't walking around holding hands all day long, but there were
No, I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean, but just having that intimacy of, her laying up
yeah,
under
absolutely,
you, her wanting to lay up under
absolutely.
you, you wanting to, hold her.
Yeah, I
You
know exactly
understand
what
what
you
I'm
mean.
saying? Like I get to sleep now, and
Next to you,
you know,
invite.
I can
Yeah, absolutely. You right here.
I don't smell
Right. You get
steel.
you're pretty
You
pretty
know what I'm
much.
saying? I don't smell the
No, right,
toilet.
right, right. Yeah, the toilet is
You
not
know
in
what
the
I'm
room
saying?
with you. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what like I don't smell the toilet. I don't, So I just wanted to ask that and make it
Mm-hmm.
funny. End on ended on
Yeah, you still.
that.
Yeah,
That's
still.
funny. That's funny. I'm gonna say this. I love you. I commend you. Keep if nobody else has told you, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you do. I pray the book, the sales continue to grow. I pray that this interview opens the doors to more interviews, to your story being spread abroad, to your voice being heard abroad. And perhaps there is someone who can even get into more detail, another man, somebody that really can dig. I dug people go get the book The Forgotten Crip, a memoir by Duane Fitzpatrick. 33 years for a crime he contends to this day, and you heard it right here on the True Dialogue podcast from his mouth, that he did not do. And looking at the statistics from 1980 to present, those numbers clearly support his claim that he did not do this crime. He is an innocent man. Thank you once again, Mr. Fitzpatrick, for joining us. I
Mhm.
appreciate you more than words can ever say. You have a blessed evening, and
Thanks for having me.
we'll see you again. We went 2 hours. I appreciate you. See, I had to go. I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to go. The book is great. You guys go get the book. You will want to. Thanks for being
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you.
We'll
Appreciate
see
it.
you again. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to. I thought I was going to tell, but I already told you that. So you
You
have a
too.
good night.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the interview.
No
All right.
problem. Thank you. All right, family of overcomers, make sure you are tuned in and with us. I know it's been a long one. Next on the chopping block, Humanity, the Diary by my boy Derek Johns. I got to read this also. This is 270 pages. This book is available on Amazon. I'm going to get through that. I got a lot of great guests coming up. We are going up Monday, I'm going to be talking about the spirit, the sevenfold spirit of God. This is something I found out, and I'm like, wow, this needs to be talked about. So we're going to talk about that. I know we are 2 hours in, but I got to say, big up. And to my girl Tamika, she got the keys to her house. She bought her first house today. Big props, mad props, big ups to any and everyone out there achieving their goals, dreams, and aspirations, whether it be buying a house, a car, starting a new job, graduating from high school, college, fixing your credit, whatever it is that you are doing to level up. Big ups to you. And remember, falling is not failure, it's just part of the process. Y'all have a good night. We will see you Monday, 7 p.m. Y'all, don't meet me here. Meet me here. You've been tuned in to the True Dialogue podcast, guided by Spirit, grounded in truth. It's not small talk, it is True Dialogue, and I am your host, Queen SGB, Miss C, the Valley Girl, aka the Triumphant One. You guys have a wonderful, fantastic, awesome, amazing evening.